Hey guys, this is Jennifer from the Shooter's Mindset. We're here at SHOT Show 2020. I'm here with Alex from Annealing Made Perfect, and we're going to talk a little bit about annealing and about their product.
Sure.
So why don't you start by telling everyone why it's important to anneal your brass?
Well, annealing is vital to retain the correct hardness of the neck. Most people don't realise that when you resize your brass over and over and shoot it again, the neck and shoulder just get harder and harder. Hard brass is springy brass, and so it means when you size that brass, it won't conform exactly to the die. So, and the longer that goes, the less accuracy you get out of the brass. Annealing gives you exactly the same hardness every time, and therefore it resizes perfectly every time. It just makes a huge difference. Our products are used now, our annealers are used now by people like Applied Ballistics have them, Redding, Forsters, Night Force use them, so Peterson Brass, they all have our product because it gives such reliable results and makes their products work better.
That's awesome. So why don't you give us a little demo and let us see it?
So the magic of the Aztec system is that there's just no guesswork involved at all. There's no temperature, there's no sitting in the dark seeing if it glows the right amount of time. This is a laboratory grade piece of equipment. So the first thing we'll do is we'll select Analyze mode. By selecting that, that'll then give us our selection of what pilot code to put in, and that is all on our website. This is a series of data that lets the annealer know exactly what cartridge it's looking at. What I've put in here is 11A, which is specifically for 308 Winchester. We're now going to destroy this case. It takes a little while. It's taken to destruction.
So it's basically going to the point of failure.
Yeah, it's going to fail it. You can see at the tip of the case the neck is actually melted. So what that has done, it has now analysed that brass and it's generated a code 0147, which is the correct code to anneal this brass. So when we're now ready to anneal. We'll just enter that. Now we're ready to anneal, and we now have a perfectly annealed piece of brass. And so you would then anneal the entire lot on that setting, and you're good to go. So it's so simple, and it's made it so much more accurate than any other annealing method.
Takes the guesswork out.
Yeah, and we recommend you should really be annealing every reload. It's so easy, and that retains the accuracy every time.
That's awesome.
Sure.
So another thing that Annealing Made Perfect has, I've got Matt here to talk about, is the Amp Mate. So what is this contraption that everyone's enjoying watching?
Well, this allows you to automate the annealing process on our machine. So a lot of people complained that the annealer that we made was quite hands-on. So we developed this Amp Mate to allow them to go hands-free and do other work while the annealing does itself. So essentially it just sits on top there, it comes assembled as you see it, just sits on top, and you can put any hopper, in this case we've got a Dillon, that will allow the case to feed head first. So a Hornady would also work as long as you make a stand that will fit to it. And you can see it looks pretty technical. It's actually relatively affordable. We've priced this at around $300. It's just to make the automation of the machine and to make it hands-free. Now this happens to be the revised edition of the Amp Mate. We came out last year with the first model, and we learned a lot from that release, and we've modified a few things. So you'll notice that the USB cord is a custom USB cord we've made quite short. We used to tell people to use the one that came with the annealer, and that was quite cluttered and quite long. So we shortened that. The eject mechanism has been greatly improved. We've got limit switches on there to prevent faults and jams. We've got little tabs and stops that prevent cases from falling forward and stopping the cycle. We've also given the circuit board slightly more power, and we've revised the overall most of the aluminium components to make it easier for us to build in the factory, and also to prevent things moving and shipping. So we've greatly enhanced the Amp Mate. We've had it running here all show with no glitches or anything that we've found so far. It's done a few thousand cycles already.
I should have just brought my brass to SHOT Show, and I could have let you anneal it while the shot's going on.
Now the Amp Mate does run slightly slower than doing it by hand. Most people doing a run of say 100 or 200, you can accomplish that by hand in a matter of half an hour. But if you've got large batches of brass that you want to just sit and have that happen by itself, the Amp Mate would be a welcome addition to the annealer.
That's awesome. And then I think there's one more product we're going to go over here and look at. Okay, so there's one more new product you have here that Matt's going to show us. So what is this contraption?
We haven't actually got a name for it yet, but it's essentially what it is. It's a bullet seating press with a load cell and an automatic drive. So we've been looking around, how can we see the final step, to make that round when you're seating the bullet, what's going on there. So you can do all this brass prep, and this allows you to see how all that affects the final seating of the bullet before it becomes a complete round. So essentially it is a prototype, and it looks pretty like a prototype. We decided that there are some people out there who have experimented with load cells in the past, and we really wanted to automate that to give a consistent drive onto the die. So as you can see, we're using a Wilson seating die, and just to go into how it works, I'll just see the bullet here quickly. So essentially we take a case. In this case, this is unprimed, unloaded, it's just a test. We put the bullet in top, into the die, onto the, that's a load cell under there, so it senses the pressure, and then we get that armed, press the button there, and the ram will come down and drive it. And then it draws a chart or a pressure curve that we can then have a look at. So I'll just come in here quickly and adjust that. So you can see that's where the load started to increase, and that's where the bullet started to move down into the brass. And this is the pressure gradually increasing as more and more of the bullet is gripping the brass on its way down. So what we can do now is we can actually take another one. Well, let's just take another case. This one's, I believe it's been treated differently than the previous one. So we'll just put that one there. I think the one I just put in had been sized and a bullet had been seated, and we just pulled the bullet out, and that's just putting the bullet back in again. So this is a case that has never had a bullet seated in it before, and we'll see if there's a difference. So we'll put that on the load cell, we'll arm it, press start. So already quite a big difference. So in purple there you can see there was more load required to get the bullet started. The load increased, and for some reason there was a spike there. So we would probably be concerned about that. That's not something we'd normally see. So something in that case gave a yield. So we can see it's quite accurate. There's a lot of sensitivity in it, and we're pretty excited. It is pretty new for us. We've done a bit of experimenting with it, but we've got it into a stage now where we're getting some more reliable data out of it. And more work to be done on it, but we feel like this could be a very useful tool to allow people to see how consistent their bullet seating pressures are, and then what to do with that information.
That's really amazing.
We think it could really help people.
There's so much into all this and getting it just right. Perfect. So if somebody wants to get any of these products, where can they find y'all?
They can find us online at ampeannealing.com. You can also Google search Annealing Made Perfect, and we'll show up as the top search. And we're all available direct online.
Awesome. All right, so check them out.